welcome to a new video. Today I want to dive a bit deeper into Roman religion, really not from a mythology perspective, but from an overall perspective. So let's begin. Well, to begin with, there are actually some historians that believe that religion wasn't really a big thing in the Roman Empire, at least not for the normal citizen. That they pray to the emperor on his birthday, that they sometimes sacrifice something when they need something from a god, but that the whole thing wasn't really a big part of their life, and that Rome kind of divided politics and religion. But that is really not the case. In fact, the opposite is very true. Because if we look, for example, at the Roman Emperor Augustus, he made himself basically an own god. He said basically that he's the son of Jupiter, that he was chosen by Jupiter to rule over the Roman Empire. And he made himself actually the highest priest of Rome, which is also really interesting. If religion wouldn't be an important thing in the Roman Empire, why would he do that? Why would he make himself highest priest, which is a very, very important thing to note there. Also, we can see alone at this that it was really not that the state divided politics and religion. Much more, it was together. It was like in basically medieval Christianity. Christianity was really, really, really close to politics and to the kings, etc. So it was quite similar in the Roman Empire, actually. For example, the Senate. They did sacrifices at the most important days of decisions. And they basically wanted to see if the gods said, yeah, this is the right day to make the decision. But sometimes they kind of cheated there, because if the sacrifice didn't work out as planned, they just did it again and again and again. And here it is. I think it was a liver they sacrificed, and if the liver had no black point, it was a good day, and if it had a black point in it, it was a bad day. I'm not exactly sure anymore though which organ it was, but I think it was the liver. So the possibility that it is a bad day is quite low. But if it was a bad day, they just did the sacrifice again and looked if the liver was still black. In the end, they always did it basically on the same day and never really looked at that, because they just did it as often until the liver had no point. But Roman people tend to have different views on religion, actually. There were the majority that actually said, yeah, all gods exist. Everyone can believe in what they want, but the Roman gods are just everywhere the strongest. And that's why we have the empire, because our gods are the strongest. So we can rule over the world. But then there were also Romans that believed that every god had its region. So that in the territory of the Roman Empire, the Roman gods were the strongest. And if you have gone, for example, before the conquest of Britain, their gods are the strongest. The Roman gods are only weak there. That's why it's dangerous there. So we see there are like just two different points of views. It's basically like today with religion. Everyone has a little bit a different version of a religion. It is not that everyone believed the one thing and thought it would be that way. No. There were actually many groups divided that thought a little bit different about religion. Then there were the soldiers, obviously. I talked about them in the last video already, that believed in Mithras. This was also quite common for soldiers, so they believed basically also in one god, even though they believed in their Roman gods as well, but this was kind of their main religion. They thought Mithras will keep them safe. And that's really interesting that there's a religion that is non-Roman, so for most Romans actually inferior to the Roman religion, but still has spreaded so much under soldiers. And while Christianity really was popular in the lower strata for the people that are weak in the Roman Empire, for slaves, etc., the pagan belief was actually really, really, really strong still in the upper strata. They were more conservative. They believed more in their gods, in their Roman gods, instead of new religions, because they thought, hey, this is like our legacy. These are our Roman gods. We believed in them, and that's why we are here today. That's why we are so strong today. So we will believe on in them. Overall, it has to be said that religion was a really important thing in the life of a Roman. Sacrifices, etc., and rituals were really important for them. And also in the political sense, religion was important. For example, Nero, who I talked about as well already, who some, at least most historians think that he burnt Rome down, just said, yeah, it were the Christians, because he needed to get rid of them anyway, because they were a danger. They were always a danger for the Roman, basically, upper class, because they knew the lower strata was really into that religion. They were really like, it was really popular on them, and they believed that when too many people believe in Christianity, there could be revolts, etc., because they would not believe in the Roman Empire as God anymore. And that's really why they tried to get rid of Christianity, but never really succeeded. It was possible for them to kind of put it a little bit down, but never destroy it completely. And we can see that later, Roman Empire got Christian. And the Christianity won eventually against the old Roman gods. And this is also a thing that is quite critical for the Roman Empire, because basically the whole integration program was destroyed with Christianity being the new main religion, because they didn't accept the other gods besides them. So people that lived former under Roman rule and were, I believe, for example, in my Egyptian gods, I believe in them and they are great. I also believe in the Roman gods, maybe. When Christianity took over and more people got Christian, riots began actually against really the old pagans, and the temples got destroyed, etc., because Christians didn't accept them besides them. So those people tended to sometimes revolt against the new Roman Empire, the new Christianity, because they were like, yeah, my gods are not accepted anymore. This really also just made further trouble to the Roman Empire at that stage, especially in the later stage, where it's quite unstable anyway. This was really a critical point, because that's why more and more men were like, no, I'm not joining the army, I'm not fighting, or even revolting against the Roman Emperor. So Christianity, while it really conquered the Roman Empire, we could say, it kind of also led to its downfall, besides other things, obviously. But this is also one big point that weakened the Roman Empire. It was not that Christianity alone was it, but it was Christianity who weakened the Roman Empire because of its non-integration. It is just monotheism, and this is not good for such a large empire when you say everyone has to believe in that God and in no one else. That's not good, especially when they were allowed before in the empire to believe in those other gods. I hope you could learn something, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Have a great day, and